Here, first things first, with Sarah Kustok. The Raptors are now just one win away from their first title in franchise history. They were stoic leaving the court after beating the Warriors 105-92 in Game 4 Friday night. And what do we mean by stoic? Well, let's let Kawhi Leonard explain.
We're focused. We know that it doesn't mean anything until someone has 4 wins. You never know what could happen, and you gotta take advantage of it, and don't get overly hyped and excited. Still a great basketball team on the other side, and I think that was our mindset. We had a goal going out there, and we accomplished it, and now we have to do it in possible 3 games. Got to win 1.
Sarah, is that stoic or is that just Kawhi? I think that's as big as we're going to get from Kawhi. Sarah, how have the Raptors neutralized the Warriors in the NBA
Those 2 videos couldn't have painted a better picture of why Toronto's in this position. First of all, if you didn't know what happened in that game,
of course you would have thought
and you
they
saw
lost.
The team, yeah, because they are so focused. Kawhi Leonard, the way he talks, his approach, his mentality, has bled into everything of which this team is doing, with all the players, with the way they come into every game, with how they are taking the wins and still keeping it very businesslike. How have they neutralized the Warriors? Their defense, first and foremost, I think you probably give the most credit to.
Yes.
Their depth, because at any given point, there's been a different player throughout the course of these finals and even throughout the whole postseason that's had big games and big numbers and has done so in a very efficient, not high-volume shooting way. And then you got a killer like Kawhi, and add in a 4th of Nick Nurse, and a masterful job in which he's figured out ways to adjust, to change in what the teams need on a game-by-game basis. But I think more than anything, there's a confidence in that because of how he's coached throughout this entire season. They have been flexible with what they've done. They understand there is a trust because he's tried different things. But with this team, you see that there is game plan discipline regardless of what they are doing. And they are always on a string. They've got a chemistry within themselves, and I think all of that in its totality has helped get them to this point. And they are just a confident bunch of guys, given the experience that they have.
Fred VanVleet talked about after game number 4, they asked him about the 3rd quarter, and he said, you got a lot of confidence when your guy goes out there and takes 2 FU 3-pointers. And it was like, FU, I don't care, Draymond, I'm getting ready to take this. And he said that right there gave them the confidence, because at halftime, Nick Nurse talked about the 3rd quarter Warriors. This is when they've been most successful. So how have they done it? They have constantly made adjustments. They made adjustments before the series started. They were going to take advantage of the front court. Marc Gasol, Siakam got them started in game number 1. Even though they didn't win game number 2, they made adjustments in how they were going to go to Oracle. Instead of pick and pop with the 1 and the 5, the center and the point guard, what they started doing was picking and rolling, and they were rolling their center right to the free throw line. So he was either passing to the wing and either sometimes getting the ball back for an easy. They didn't have a response as far as Golden State, as far as their overall rotations and everything. So Nick Nurse has done a tremendous job. And then at the end of that, it's Kawhi Leonard. Kawhi had told his teammates and Nick Nurse that I'm using the regular season as just practice. You're going to see me in the postseason shift to a different gear. And they saw that. And they started following Kawhi's leadership, even though they know it's a different type of leadership. It's very, very strange than any other leadership, but they believe in Kawhi. And they believe at certain points of the game that he's going to put his mark on the game in his own type of way. So looking at their veterans, Nick Nurse, no experience, but trading for Gasol, looking at Serge Ibaka, looking at Kawhi, and looking at Lowry. Those 4 players right there, they got plenty of experience, and it's played through the rest of the team that they didn't have to do too much. So it's been a great mixture. Inexperienced coach with some veterans that have some playoff experience and a team that has the hunger to try to win a championship.
And you guys have talked about the totality of the series and big picture, but I want to talk about Game 4 just for a moment, because since it happened Friday, it's now Monday, some of the details of Game 4 kind of get lost in the shuffle. What was so stunning to me about Game 4 was, how did the Raptors beat the Warriors in Game 4? The exact way the Warriors have beaten the whole league for 5 years. Oh, lethargic start. Could be down 20. Oh, wait, at halftime you're down 4 or 5 points? You're close even though you didn't play that well. And then just a flurry in the third quarter that saps the will of your opponent. That has been the methodology for how the Warriors have gone on this run. They don't have to play a great 48 minutes. The Raptors did not play a great 48 minutes. Offensively, that first quarter was an abomination, but their defense was good enough to keep them close. And then in the second quarter, the game started to get away from them. Then like, wait, what? It's a 4-point game at halftime? And then the flurry in the third. The flurry in the third that made the Warriors look around and start doing things. The last time I saw them play like this was Game 6 against Cleveland in 2016, the game Steph got thrown out of for throwing his mouthpiece, where it's like, wait, what's happening? How did we get here? And they rush up the court and take a bad shot. It's not good shot, better shot, great shot. It's rush up the court, bad shot. Rush up the court, turnover. There was a sequence where they went 8 possessions in that third quarter where Kevon Looney's rushing. The only way they scored was Steph drew a couple fouls. They just looked out of sorts. And while they do have tremendous experience, they don't have any experience facing this type of adversity, not since the 2016, actually not NBA Finals, but Conference Finals against Oklahoma City. And to come back from that, it took an all-time game from Klay Thompson in Game 6 and an epic Steph Curry game in Game 7. I don't think they've got that in them in this series.
And Toronto is deflating for a lot of reasons. I think to your point, that high pick-and-roll action has absolutely carved up the Warriors defense, but you have a handful of players that are constantly making the right decisions. Kawhi always makes the right
high
decision.
basketball IQ.
Lowry, so whoever has a ball in their hand, they're always making the right decision, which has put so much pressure on Golden State. They understand when to push. They're doing it off makes and misses. They were patient at the end of the game. Defensively, they always know where one pass away is, where the help is coming from. And with Golden State, they seem out of sorts because it seems like everything is random in how they're playing. So it's a very different perspective than how we typically look at teams.
Why do you think, Sarah, the Raptors sort of snuck up on everyone throughout this road in the East between Philadelphia and then you saw it with Milwaukee and Boston? All of a sudden, here they are on the brink of winning a championship.
Which is important because they've won 7 of their last 8 since going down 0-2 against Milwaukee. But think about that Philly series. They were in Philadelphia down 2-1. I mean, they have certainly shown a great deal of poise. That's a great question. I don't know because we always, I think, or at least loop them in. Oh, they're one of the better teams in the East, but never really being the pick to come out of the East. I know there's some people that had a great deal of respect. I don't know if it's because we didn't see this Kawhi Leonard, and maybe we weren't sure the level he could get to. I don't know if, despite it being a different team, the past failures of Toronto throughout the postseason. What's Kyle Lowry going to do?
All the above.
The bench, all the guys that Fred VanVleet, you can go to Pascal Siakam. This is his first time in this role on this stage, so there was a lot of question marks, and every one of those questions have been answered.
I think the biggest reason is during the regular season because it was all just a foregone conclusion the Warriors are going to win. And there were hotter, sexier topics in the East, Boston, Philadelphia, and Giannis, followed up by Milwaukee won 60 games. Giannis is going to be the MVP. We didn't believe in Kawhi. We heard all the nightmares about Toronto. We've seen them come up short, even as a #1 seed. And we didn't believe in Nick Nurse as a playoff coach with the lack of experience. So it just comes from a lack of overall respect for Toronto. And there was no other superstar that we didn't give the type of, oh, he can carry them like Kawhi. We thought Harden could do it, thought Steph could do it, even without KD. Man, we gave everyone else credit that they can do this besides Kawhi. We missed on it. Like, we missed. And when the playoffs started, out of all, if we took the top 4 teams in the East, top 4 teams in the West, this team right here didn't have an identity. So once the playoffs started, they lose the first game to Orlando. And since then, they started creating an identity of who they're going to be. And it's about Kawhi, it's about their defense, and it's about Nick Nurse is going to put them in something that will give them a strategical advantage against the opposition.
All right, go.
No, they lose that first game of the playoffs. They lose it. Kyle Lowry has a bagel, and it's like same old Raptors. They get through the Magic, and they fall down 2-1 to Philly, and it's like, oh, same old Raptors, and then fall down 0-2 to Milwaukee. It's just, there have been a lot of, if you did want to believe in Toronto, there have been a lot of exit ramps off that.
Right.
That where it felt like the same old Raptors.
Buzzer beater Game 7 is they've already had a great playoff. Kawhi Leonard's been great. Let's try to get him to come back. They have no chance against Milwaukee, right, Nick?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, that's what Nick told us. was,
too.
and Jenna and I was
Bring it
like,
back up.
Toronto does have a chance. So we missed. Like people don't want to admit it. You're on TV, you're on radio, and Nick on both. Sometimes we miss. Jenna and I didn't miss.
Yeah, I mean, I think we all picked Milwaukee in that series. We'll have to check the tape. You guys got Toronto in this series, though.
Sarah, we'll see you later in the show. Nick's going to keep talking. Coming up, why are some Warriors players growing frustrated with KD? Next on First Things First. Still talking. Shockingly.